Evelyn Hart had always been the kind of woman people underestimated. She spoke softly, smiled often, and carried herself with a grace that made her seem harmless. But behind those gentle eyes was a storm she never wanted to unleash. Unfortunately for those who betrayed her, they gave her no choice. It all began when Evelyn trusted the wrong people, her fiancé, Daniel, and her best friend, Clara, had been secretly plotting behind her back. They made her believe in loyalty and love, while they toyed with her life. The day she walked in on them laughing together in her own apartment, her heart shattered into pieces. But Evelyn didn't cry. Not then. She only smiled, nodded, and quietly walked away. Daniel thought she would break down and beg for answers. Clara believed Evelyn would curse her, maybe even slap her in rage. But Evelyn did none of those things. Instead, she vanished into silence, leaving behind a calm that made both of them uneasy. What they didn't know was that Evelyn had a gift. She remembered everything, every secret Daniel ever whispered when he thought she wasn't listening, every careless confession Clara made after a glass of wine. For months, Evelyn had been piecing together fragments of their lives, not because she expected betrayal, but because she was naturally observant. Now, those details became her weapons. She started with Daniel. He had a weakness for money and an even greater weakness for gambling. Evelyn knew every place he played, every shady contact he owed. Quietly, she gathered evidence, his forged signatures, his unpaid debts, and photographs of him exchanging envelopes under dim lights. One night, she leaked it all anonymously to the authorities. Within a week, Daniel's reputation at his firm crumbled. His accounts were frozen, his business partners cut ties, and the creditors he once mocked began circling like vultures. Daniel tried to call Evelyn, but she never answered. She simply watched from a distance as his confident smirk dissolved into sleepless paranoia. Next was Clara. Unlike Daniel, Clara thrived on social validation. She loved the admiration of her followers, the glow of her carefully curated online life. Evelyn, however, knew her darkest secret. Clara had stolen a large sum of money from the charity foundation where she volunteered. Evelyn had proof, bank transfers, falsified receipts, and even voice recordings. With one carefully timed message to the right journalist, Clara's empire of lies collapsed overnight. The media tore her apart. Sponsors abandoned her. Friends distanced themselves. In the same apartment where Evelyn had once caught Clara's betrayal, Clara now sat curled up, scrolling through an endless stream of hateful comments. Still, Evelyn didn't show herself. She wanted them to feel the weight of isolation first. Weeks passed. Daniel, drowning in debt, reached out to Clara for help, but she had nothing left to give. Clara, desperate to save herself, begged Daniel for loyalty, but his pride was already shattered. They turned against each other, blaming one another for their downfall. Evelyn finally decided it was time. One rainy evening, she sent them both the same message. "Meet me at the old cafe on 7th Street. If you want the truth, come alone. They arrived separately, broken versions of their former selves. Daniel looked gaunt, his expensive suit now worn and loose. Clara's makeup was smeared, her once bright eyes dulled by exhaustion. They froze when they saw Evelyn, sitting calmly at a corner table, sipping her coffee. You, Clara whispered, trembling. Daniel clenched his fists. You did this to us. Evelyn tilted her head slightly and smiled, a smile so serene it sent chills through their bones. You did this to yourselves. She replied softly. All I did was return what you gave me. Betrayal. Clara's voice cracked. You've ruined us. No, Evelyn said, standing to leave. I've only shown the world who you really are. She walked past them, her heels echoing against the wooden floor. Daniel called after her, his voice shaking with desperation. Evelyn, was this revenge worth it? She paused at the doorway, turning just enough for them to see the faint smile still lingering on her lips. It wasn't revenge, she said. It was justice. With that, she disappeared into the rain, leaving Daniel and Clara in a silence heavier than any words could bear. From that night on, they would remember Evelyn not as the woman they betrayed, but as the woman who destroyed them, without ever raising her voice. And somewhere, behind that last smile, Evelyn Hart found her peace.